Hello, and welcome to the 20th day of my Pot Limit Omaha journey. Okay, Ace King 8-5. Ace King, a lot of the Ace King combos with a suited ace I will continue. I believe this one I'm going to go ahead and fold. And, oh, I didn't do the thing. Oh, no. Oh, not no. Cool. Okay. The 8 and the 5, I feel, are, let's go ahead and mark that hand, though. I think that's a, it's a pre-flop spot. I know it's a pre-flop spot. I think it's a potentially interesting pre-flop spot. Without the one extra suited card, maybe that's what swings it. Maybe it's a defense. Anyway, against the button, I would certainly defend it. I think against the cutoff, I need to be a little bit tighter. Make the 10 or the 5, the 8 or the 5 a little better, like a 10 or a jack or a queen, and maybe it's a 3-betting hand. Especially with the 5, right? Alright, so not too much info on anybody yet. The player on the left has raised every hand. So, sixes with a suited 7, nice. A queen, not so nice. They continue raising every hand, so that's of note. That's definitely something to keep an eye on. And we'll see what kind of hands they end up with. I mean, they min-raise the button, so you can probably do that with quite a wide range. At this rake structure, you probably shouldn't be min-raising the button. Probably should be potting it. That's my understanding anyway. But if you're going to min-raise, you're allowed a wider range of hands with which to do it. Alright, so, totally reasonable hand that they showed up with there. Totally reasonable hand the other player showed up with. And by totally reasonable hand, I mean pre-flop. When did the money go in? Oh, on the turn, they had the nuts. And then on the river, they lost to a flush, I suppose. Unless the board paired. Alright, so I will open raise this, for sure. If there's a raise to me, I think I'm going to go ahead and fold it. My gap's at the top, 10 high, not really what I'm looking to get involved with in this situation. I'm not even going to mark this one. Okay, I'll mark it. I mark a lot of hands, and I'm a little concerned that the post-flop session review is like too pre-flop heavy for entertainment's sake. I think for education's sake, for anybody who hasn't played a ton of PLO or hasn't really put the work in to develop their pre-flop game, I think it should actually probably be the most valuable part of the session, just from an educational standpoint. If you don't have good pre-flop standards, you just you can't build a solid game. It's just that simple, right? I mean, you can have a solid approach, and in games that are really fantastic, I'd say I'm sure you can make money, but I think it is necessary to have a solid pre-flop game to build anything, right? We need a good understanding of what hands people should have in certain spots, what hands people do have in certain spots, what hands we have in certain spots. How can we figure out how to play our range if we don't even know what our range is? So I think that's there's some primacy to that, but I also think perhaps it is not as yep. Oh, okay. Trying to hit the thing on the other thing. So ace king queen with a 3. I think like ace king queen with a suit is mostly going to be raised. I do have backdoor club blocked, or not backed. I don't have backdoor anything. I have backdoor straight draw, and I have top pair, top kicker, which I think I did not give proper consideration to. I think I allowed myself to get a little distracted. Here, I think my hand is clearly the best. I'm going to bet. I do want value, but I don't really want draws to like flushes and straights to come along. So if I can get a call from a queen, fantastic. I'd be happy for the other hands to fold, the other draws. and the straight draw does get there. This is one of those spots where I think I can get a little bit of value from a queen, and if they have 7-8, then they'll raise maybe, or maybe they'll just call. But I can see a showdown here. I don't really want to check call all that much. Let's see what I did get called by. My guess is a weaker queen, but it could be something like pocket tens. It was pocket tens. Wow. 10, 10, 9, 5. They did have clubs, right? So they did draw. So their clubs, a 10 was also going to give them a boat and win the hand for them. And they had a 5. So if they hit a 5, they would have had trips, but that would not have been good. And they hit the 9, but 10s was their hand. That was kind of I'd say more of a lucky guess than like a really precise read, but it's the type of hand that I think makes sense in their spot. Especially 10s with a club draw, because having that, that boat out, those 2 outs to the boat, is nice. There was no reason to expect that I had too strong of a hand as I checked that fairly wet flop. I think I was fairly capped at what I had, ace queen, and my bet size, my small bet size out of position, might actually be solver approved, but I was doing it in an exploitative way, and against certain types of players, I think it can be very effective. I have found. Against other types of players, it can also be very effective, but often for different reasons. Against players who are going to see it as like extreme weakness, we can do it with some of our larger hands and induce bluff raise, or even some thin value raises they might make. And so I like that bet sizing. Not too often, but in the right spots, I think it can be very effective. All right, so we have a limp and then a min raise. So I'm actually going to make a note on this person. Min raises hijack versus LoJack limper. Like question mark, like, what are you doing? Like, what's the thought behind that one? All right, so that person thought so long they left the table. King 9-7, the razor's range is probably not that well defined. This board is exactly the region that, limpers and razors and everybody's kind of gonna hit some of. People like to play, mid to high cards. Ace isn't particularly powerful here. Pot size bet, they're basically saying maybe they have king, maybe a hand like king 9. They could also have like king queen jack 10, maybe some hearts to go with top pair, stuff like that, or hearts and 2 pair. This is not a good hand. And then here we have open limp. That was the LoJack. Position doesn't matter that much, as I'm now going to classify this person as like, one of these folks who gets the green. Not a huge amount of interest on the, the river is a nut changer, right? A flush became not nearly as good as the board paired, and somebody with 2 pair did make a boat. Let's see what their exact cards were again. Ace jack 9-6, so that's what they're limping. So they're definitely limping those hands that are like not very good, but they're like, well, I have an ace and a jack, and the 9 and the 6 connects kind of, and a suit. So that's good to see. The other player had 5-4, 9-8, and they did call the river with a flush. So they called a pot size bet, right? Yeah, basically. That's what it looks like. Okay, so we'll make a note. Weak flush. It's like 8 high. On board pairing river. So river. Okay. That means that, we might be able to get a little bit more in the way of value on the river from this player when we think, oh, but what could they call us with? It's like, well, against certain types of players, if you think you mostly have the best hand, like, you just put the bet out there and let them figure out a way to call, right? Against more sophisticated players, you want to think, okay, what can someone call with? But certain types of players, it's just like, yeah, you think you have the best hand, just put the bet out there. They'll figure it out. They'll find some reason to call with something. I heard this first as limit hold'em advice, but I think it applies to all games, you know? Like, here, if you had like a set of jacks on the river and it went check, 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 and it's like, well, you know, what are they going to call with? I don't know. Let them figure it out. What do they have? They flopped the nuts. And the other player had the aces. Okay, so we have the aces now. With the suited jack and a stray queen. Pretty nice starting hand. But, again, I think even in Hold'em, like, we don't want to get too wound up with our aces and think like, oh, okay, let's win a big pot. It's like, no, let's put the raise in because we have the best hand right now. Right? I mean, if someone 3-bets, they could have double suited aces with kings, or, you know, most double suited aces are probably a little better than this, but, you know, all right. So I flop the stone cold nuts against a player like this. How much do I want to bet? I think they're gonna call with any flush draw, even if I bet 3/4 pot. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that. I am thinking about their range in terms of they're not going to have a lot of. I mean, they can have 5-5, 3-3, which they're going to continue with. They can have some 2-4, which would be unfortunate, but I'd have a lot of equity versus that. Mostly, I think the hands they're going to call us with are going to be flush draws and straight draws, and I want to charge those an unfair price from their point of view. Try and get as much money as I can on the flop, on the turn. Yeah, so just, you know, realize the equity. A smaller bet, maybe they call with an underpair. I don't know, but I don't think that was not the easiest board to really get value on. I think half pot would have been fine, and I don't think I would have hated a full pot bet either. There's a run at once course on basically these single raise pots that I need to delve into. That's kind of up next. I'm mostly just still refining this pre-flop game. That'll be I don't know, I feel like spending a month like really just grinding kind of every questionable spot. I feel like at the end of that, I should have a pretty firm idea of like what hands I want to play in what situations in these games. And then every time I move up stakes to where the rake is significantly lower, and I'm going to want to recalibrate that, right? Because as the rate gets lower, you can start playing increasingly more and more marginal hands that would not be profitable because their small edge would just get raked away by the brutal conditions on this site. Of course, you know, the conditions are also fantastic in that straight across from me, someone's rocking 100 VPIP. And a plus, you know, over 50 PFR after this hand. It'll be like 57. And then we've got a 62 VPIP over here. Like, so there's a lot of money going in very loose. And you could argue that in some spots that lets us play a little bit more hands. And I think in certain situations that's true. But in a lot of these multi-way situations, not as true. All right, I believe this is a button raise first in. Against a raise and this short stack, I think I'm going to fold this. Multi-way, though, many ways. I think it's closer. The big blind is loose passive. The small blind is... so far, they've been loose and passive. I'm going to talk myself into a call here. The single-suitedness makes me feel it is much more questionable. But I think the chance for a large multi-way pie, yeah, okay. So that person had been very passive. And if I was double suited, I think I get to call here against the 3-bet. As it is, I have such good odds. I'm kind of worried the player on my left will just jam. We'll have like 100 in the middle. We'll have a 1-to-1 SPR. If I flop anything, I'm going to go with it. I'm going to fold, though. Yeah, like this, I would have to fold this flop against a real bet, but I would be folding some equity. Now, these players are probably all just going to get it in. Let's see what's going on. All right, my suit was covered, and ace on the river. No, okay. 6-5 gets there. King 6-5. Yeah, so like my hand was doing well against those 3 players. And if the big blind hadn't picked up aces, nice Badoogie here. A 7, a made 7. I'm going to check out that last hand. I thought it was fairly close. Or not even that close. I thought it was probably going to be a fold. But given the sort of characteristics of the people who were already in the pot and the ones who were remaining to act, it felt like a safe place to call. And, you know, they picked up aces. That's going to happen 1 out of every 40-ish times. And you're going to get 3-bet there. But that's, you know, there's 2 players, so probably like 5% of the time, these not very aggro players, one of them is going to 3-bet. So if I get to see a flop 90% of the time, I'm pretty okay with that. And the fact that the stacks were a little shorter meant that if I did hit the set and somehow someone had a bigger set, which is very possible, but not going to be the majority of cases or anything, it would not have hurt me nearly as much as if we were much deeper. And so my hand probably can realize its equity a little better, maybe, than it would if we were deeper. I don't have implied odds, but I also don't really have reverse implied odds. All right, this hand looks like pretty much nothing's happening. This person here, I'm going to give them the upgrade as well, just to demonstrate to myself how good this game is. Is the player across from me? I guess a new player. That's too bad. All right, 6-6-5-4. I'll certainly call a raise with this hand. If it gets limps to me, I can think about putting in more. I don't really feel the need to do that. I don't think this hand is so high up in my range or has such fantastic equity that I really need to be like juicing the pot pre-flop. Unfortunately, I have 6s instead of you know, pocket 5s. So I have 6s and I have 5s, but I don't have 6s and 5s. I have a gut shot to the nuts and I have double backdoor flush draw, and I am blocking some stuff. I'm blocking, you know, 5-5, king 5, 2-5. So I think a bet on the flop was reasonable as an option. I'm just gonna, once I started checking, I'm gonna keep checking. This 10 gives a lot of people a lot of things they could be interested in. Now that nobody was interested in the 10 on the turn, you know, I could think about bluffing here, but as we've seen, this player behind me has been calling very liberally. They have a straight. I don't think they would have folded a straight just because the flush came in, because they didn't fold a flush just because the boat came in, even against a pot size bet in a significantly larger pot than this one. Ace, queen, 3, rainbow. The queen connects, the 3 connects, right? Each to the ace, but not to each other. No suits. I mean, I do think I will just, you know, put in the raise, and if there's a raise, I'll put in the 3-bet. But it's not a hand to get, like, super excited about. What did this person have that other hand? I'm going to go ahead and raise, though. And we're going to have a very low SPR, assuming this person calls. If they jam, then we just get it in. And I could be a little bit behind their jamming range in that they'll have maybe only ace-ace combos, and they'll be better aces by and large. I think these are some below average aces. I have no suits. That's the primary thing, I think. The limpers, I think, you know, they can come along here, but I'm perfectly happy if they, what? Okay, I guess we're doing this. So they limp re-raised, you know, ace-ace seems fairly likely. I really kind of like the buttons hand now, and I pretty much hope they fold it. Given the scenario, though, I don't think I can really do anything but get it in. It's not going to be fantastic because I'm probably chopping with ace-ace and then in bad shape against that person. Really, I just need the board to brick out, which it didn't, and we're going to get stacked. That's okay. Pre-flop 20% equity. Wow, that's brutal. That's brutal. So you saw the other person at 50%, and they lost, but let's see. Let's mark that hand for pre-flop since all the money went in pre-flop. I'm not sure really how much more I can say about it, but we can look at some different scenarios and think about kind of what, how much equity I'm going to have against different combos of ace-ace. The reason, like, having bad aces in that spot really kind of sucks is that one of the people very likely has the other two aces, and then the other person is going to have very live cards, kind of whatever they are. Yeah, this just, I'm going to fold. So, sometimes you just get it in and not going to have great equity. So I want 33% there, right? And I only have 20. Was that a worst case scenario? I don't think worst case, but kind of bad case scenario. And I've already put 20 in the pot, though. So there's basically 60 in there, and then 80, 80, and my 80. The other person was a little short, so that's not quite true. We can worry about the math on that later. Let's just take a breath. Let it go. Move on to this hand. So we have this min raiser again, which might be that player that we saw before, right? Min raises versus hijack poster, I think. I think the other person just posted and wasn't a limper. I think they're a new player and they posted $1 to get a hand right away. So a lot of new faces at this table, but the player with the 61 VPIP, who so far has raised and re-raised aces, is all we've seen. We'll make a open limp, re-raise, ace, ace. And let's see what was the actual combo. Now, this would have been a better combo of ace, ace to have, that hand. And we get a snap call from the player on our left. Call, call, call. All right. So I have aces, I have two backdoor nut flush draws, and I do have a straight, but it's the bad straight. So I'm sort of blocking the higher straight. I think with the two backdoor flush draws, I think I can bet this here. Do I more want to check it, though? Yeah, I think I can bet this. Try to get value from sets, from two pair combos, or just take the pot down before like a jack rolls off. Or the board pairs. Having the two backdoor flush draws and the ace with the jack meant that a king could come and give me the nuts, where counterfeiting king jack. Okay, we have an open limp here. And also meant that if I got it in against king jack, I'd have that additional equity of the two backdoor flush draws, which is like that's like 10% plus my 3 outs would be like what, like I think that's like 15 times. I'd have like 25, 30-ish% equity is my guess against a random king jack. That's not what I wanted to do. I wanted to view this hand history. Ace, ace, queen 9 with the queen 9 suited. Okay. Bad suit. Yeah. So bad suit means single suited, not to the ace. Okay, so yeah, I think the flopping the second nuts, not all second nut straights are created equal, right? That was a reasonably low SPR situation. I was out of position, but I had a lot of kind of emergency equity if my straight was no good. Right, Queen Jack 9, 5, 2. The 5 is an interesting card for somebody to then be like, oh, I want to bet pot on. But they basically went by the philosophy of, I don't know what they're going to call with, but let them figure it out. The other person, river to set. So yeah, they bet, pot. When, somebody certainly could have had the smaller thing. Queen, queen, 10, 8. If I was double suited, I'd pump it up. I think here, let's just take a flop and whiff pretty solidly. Overpair, backdoor straight draws, backdoor flush draw, 5-way limp pot. I'm not really going to put any more money in the pot unless we get a free turn card that is of the delightful variety. I don't think any heart is something I want to bet here. I do have hearts. It's third nut hearts. This 3 does put a couple of straights on the board, so I want to be wary of that. just insofar as if I bet my equity, I'm more likely to get raised by certain things. And now, if I could use the 8, the 10, and the queen in my hand, I would have a straight, but I can't, so I don't, so I check. I'm not blocking any of the 2-pair combos. If nobody has 2-pair, I'm going to win, but they do have 2-pair, and I'm going to lose. And they'll win, it looks like, with their jacks and 5s. Which some people call Motown because they thought jacks and 5s was just not clever enough, so they had to, like, you know, add another layer of whatever. All right, ace deuce suited, pair of 10s. I think this is the type of hand that I can certainly overlimp in the small blind. I've got a lot of ways of flopping really big. I can flop a 10. That would be nice. It would be middle or top set probably. I can flop the nut flush or flush draw with the set of 10s, yada, 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 king, queen, jack. Against a big blind raise and a limp re-raise, I'm just going to throw it away. Let's keep an eye on whether this player does have aces again or whether they're actually starting to raise some other stuff. But if they do have aces, then we know when they limp, aces are, you know, maybe going to be a reasonable part of their range. Not a huge part because you only get aces so often and they play a lot of hands, but a very real part. And that's not a board that aces would really be in love with. The out of position player, though, like, are they going to try and bluff someone off of aces? Or are they going to try and extract some value with... All right, now there's a straight. There's a double paired board, which actually makes it kind of harder to make a boat. And there's a flush possible. Oh, wow. Oh, they just had everything. Yeah, aces. Okay. So they went for the very tricky river, or maybe they just were really certain that the other person had 5, 6 of spades. Ace, ace, king. What do they have? Oh, not king. Do they have a king? Ace, ace, jack, 6. Jack 6, good suit. So we've seen them open open limp re-raise, right? Limp re-raise, ace, ace, multiple times now. And it looks like they're fairly aggressive. They've raised 13% of their hands and they've 3-bet 17% of opportunities. But it's only been ace-ace, right? So if that turns out to hold up and we don't see them raising anything else, I believe that's 3 out of 23, yeah. But we've seen all 3 of those. They should only get 1 out of about 39 or 40 hands should be ace-ace. So this should be like 2%. Their PFR could truly be more like 2% of the hands that they'll get dealt in the long run, and they're only raising ace-ace. So that's a spot where we have a concrete read that supersedes the stats, right? It doesn't mean that they do indeed only raise ace-ace. It just means that they only have raised ace-ace in the hands that we have seen, that we've been dealt. We've literally seen every time that they've raised, we've seen them show down aces. So that is information that we have that's more than just the stats in front of us. And deuces are not particularly strong in general, but combined with the queen 4 of hearts, they're extra not strong. And then this person open limps hijack, so I feel pretty good about some of these players being, you know, continuing to be loose passive. I mean, I've got all these players have open limped, and then here we have 38 and 83 V-pips with no raising. They might not have open limped because there's so many limps ahead of them all the time. I also might have just missed it talking about some of the other hands. I have a phone call. Is that sound copyrighted? I wonder if that sounds copyrighted. It better not be. Okay, so they made the nuts. Double suited queens with a king and a 6. The 6 not a very good card. The king is nice, and double suited is very nice. Double suited pairs really only come in one variety. They're both suited to the pairs, and thus both of the other cards. So there's no like good suit, bad suit with these. You know, I do have a king high suit and I have a queen high suit. And pair of queens on a board like this, pretty good. My side cards basically do nothing. So my opponents, I could be, okay, we're going to bet 60% of pot, which is this. Let's go 777 just because it's aesthetically pleasing. I could be actually up, I could have less than 50% equity against an opponent if they have like something that made a straight and a flush here. There are a lot of really big draws that people can have. Everything came in. I'm just going to check it back, consider myself to have a boat draw, let the board not pair, and, you know, I was saying earlier about if you think you have the best hand, go ahead and get value. This isn't a spot where I'm that confident I have the best hand. I think my opponent could have turned a straight, and they can go check, check. And I think they can have a small flush and check, and I'm going to lose here a lot to the second nuts, it turned out. That's a little stronger than I thought they would have. I think a lot of times someone's going to bet that hand on the river. I think perhaps they should have. But, yeah. I can mark that hand, but I don't think there's that much more I'm going to say about it. As always, anybody out there, so this is, like, I'm going to fold, but I think it's a little interesting. I have top and bottom pair, and I have that ace of hearts. So it's the sort of situation against certain types of players. I can continue because my hand might be good, but then when a turn comes like this, I can go bet, and possibly get some hands that are better than mine to fold, like 9-6. Maybe someone turns a jack-9, maybe a set of sixes even. If the river bricks off, I can get a bet in on the turn and then get them to fold the river. So, you know, here I'm blocking the absolute nuts. Nobody can have the nuts. Queen high flush in a game like this, I don't think is folding from a player like that. So using my hand in that capacity in that situation, I think would have been quite poor, and that's why I didn't do it. But I think it's always worth considering, like, what can I do with this hand in certain circumstances? What are the circumstances? No, they don't match those circumstances. Okay, I'll fold. Open limp, button, and flop. Not really anything, but kind of the flop is not really anything. Probably more deuce and 3 in their range than in my range. I kind of want a diamond or something to bet, but because the 2 and the 3 and the 8 are so disconnected, I chose to put the bet in there. The 10 now connects with the 8. I'm trying to think from this player. I'm going to go ahead and check. I don't think I'm in that great of shape anymore. The ace now, I think I'm definitely not in that great of shape. All of the straight draws, except for like 4-6 and 5-6, either made a straight or hit a pair of aces on the river. But my hand can be good. They can have some kind of weak diamonds, maybe have an 8 with some, you know, connectors. Like 8-7-6-5 would have been an example of, you know, a straight draw that didn't get there that would have been a somewhat reasonable. Okay, they had 6-6-7 jack. I don't know what that is, with only one diamond. So, yeah, okay. All right, single suited. I think single suited, do I fold this? It feels like it could be close. I'm looking here like, oh, 15%. Yeah, but that's only been aces so far. This feels like maybe I'm supposed to call it against people like these. Okay, I'll call it, and we'll look it up after the session. I think it's important to feel comfortable potentially making mistakes and just saying, like, you know, all right, what do I think is the best play here? And then making that, and I'm really unsure. I think this is a good situation for if I'm going to play a hand I shouldn't. It should be a hand like this that has a lot of ways of making the nuts, a lot of ways of flopping really big. I'm just going to bet half pot here. My ace and my jack are outs to, you know, the big house, basically. Ace king, you know, an ace wouldn't actually be the nuts because ace would still be the nuts. I think I'm just going to win this right away fairly frequently. If somebody has a king, though, my kickers being high are good because then, you know, if we both make boats, it's more likely that mine is larger. The 8 being lower than the 9 isn't great because if somebody has king 9, the 8's no good. But the 8 is still an out against 9-9, which, of course, as we saw, I think we can confidently conclude no one had 9-9. All right, I'd say 82 VPIP over double-digit number of hands. You get promoted to the green. And here on the left, you as well. We're just handing out highlighted HUDs for all. All right. I do want to mark that last hand, though, right? For pre-flop. We'll take a look at it. Pre-flop. Maybe in the video description I should say something about still, mostly focusing on pre-flop or blah, 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 blah. I don't know. Yeah, let's fold this Badoogie. In Badoogie, the idea is to get 4 cards of different ranks and different suits, and then you basically play low ball from there. Ace 2-3 perfect, 3 different suits. This is a 9 perfect, right? It's a smooth 9. But, you could break. You could throw the 9 away and hope for the 4, the 5, the 6, the 7, or the 8 of diamonds. No, the 5 of diamonds was somewhere near the top of the deck. So if this was a Badoogie, you probably don't break it. But this is all for Brian's, entertainment. I know I have a small handful of Badoogie enthusiasts in the viewership. All right, running 9s. That would be about the best run out I could hope for in this hand. Make the nut trips. Maybe running deuces or running trays would be better, as they wouldn't bring the straight. But yeah, kind of zoned out for that hand and went on a little bit of a Badoogie spiel, which is a very niche poker game, nicher than PLO. All right, bottom pair, 1 blocker to the flush. We're pretty much done with the hand. If I make a running boat, catch a couple of 6s, a couple of queens, a couple of deuces, a couple of 3s for running quads, or a 3 in any of the aforementioned cards. I don't think that's worth $1.90 to find out if that's how it's going to run out. So we're going to run out of the pot and proceed to the next hand, which we will also fold. All right, where are we? We're around 37 minutes. 1 orbit, 2 orbits, something like that. All right, limped pot. 7s very much in every player's range. 7-7, 7-3, also possible. 7-7-3-3, you're not going to see a ton of boats because, people don't play a lot of 3x. I guess like 7-6-5-3, that type of business, certainly possible. Ace King 7-3, that type of stuff. The flush draw is still out there. That kind of double paired board. When you have the flush draw, I mean, it's dangerous, but at the same time, you're less likely to be drawing dead than if it's like 7-7-3-6 or something, where 7-6 and 7-3 are boats, and they do not have reduced combos. I think I'm going to raise this on the button, even though the 9 and the 4 are like, do I raise this in the hijack? I don't think so. I think that would be a fold from the hijack, and thus a fold here. We'll do a... throw that on the list for the checkups. How many hands do I have? Now I have like 7 hands to review. Only 2 of them, I think, with post-flop tags. What did I tag that hand? Oh, we'll see. We'll see. I did look up some of my some of the hands where I had folded or value bet and gotten a fold, and was curious about what my opponents had, and it was interesting. I could do a stream of that. It's not very visually. They don't come up in the replayer. I need to like download the hand histories, and then I can run them in the replayer, or I could just make a video of all those sorts of hands, just a collection of hands where I went to look up what people had, and I think that could be interesting. Maybe make a video series, 1 hand per video, with some reasonable analysis, maybe like 10-minute videos, something like that. And if anybody is interested in that, let me know in the chat or in the comments below if you are on YouTube. And as always, if there's any hand that I'm playing in the given session or in the video that you would like further discussion of, let me know. I mean, I know a lot of hands I might discuss ad nauseum or in a lot of detail, but others, there's some that Sometimes something doesn't seem that interesting to me, or maybe somebody has a point. They're like, oh, I think you should have done this because that. I'm always happy to hear all of that. Top and bottom pair on a board like this, I think, is going to be a lot stronger than it would be on some other boards. I'm going to bet about third pot. I'm going to go with this kind of stylized betting. I'm not quite sure why. I'm just feeling it today. I think this sort of thing, if you do this all the time, there's some negatives in an anonymous player pool, namely, it's identifiable, right? So maybe I'll do it from time to time, but not all the time. All right, here, I think I can get some value. How much do I want to go for, though? I think I'm just going to go half pot. Kind of something that I might bet if I had, like, ace-ace. Straight draws will probably fold. I could have checked. I don't really want to give a lot of free cards, like actual free cards, to, I think, double suited fives with a jack and a tray. I can fold. Let's just, let's tag this hand for the pre-flop. Like the ace king 10-3, I could talk more about bet sizing, but I don't feel like that's a hand I want to go deep on in session review. That's kind of not where I am in what I'm studying right now. But if somebody is particularly interested in it, I'd be more than happy to like throw it on the pile of hands that I discuss. Right? So, yeah, I think we'll maybe we'll wrap it there. All right, ace 9 5-3 double suited. How much of these double suited hands am I actually even gonna fold? The 5 and the 3, pretty good cards. In this lineup, I'm gonna fold. I think this hand isn't gonna play fantastic out of position multi-way, and I think I'm often gonna get 2 cold callers behind me, 1 out of the blinds. Yeah, I'm gonna have the ace high suit, but there's not a lot of nut straights I can make here, right? I can make the 6 high straight and the 5 high straight, and that's it. Of course, this would be a pretty nice flop. Deuce deuce is the only hand that I'd be particularly concerned about, but you know, a lot of people aren't going to hold on, sorry. A lot of people are not going to play deuces. These players, you know, quite likely would. Shall we do one more orbit? Let's do one more orbit. We shall. We shall do one more orbit. The game's just so good. And, you know, it's a Saturday morning. Let's go for the one more orbit. And hopefully only have, like, one hand to mark from that. Yeah, I always feel like, oh, maybe I'll keep it really simple in the session review. And then I end up taking a bunch of notes. I think that's very healthy in terms of building habits, developing my game, all of that. I think I'm not sure whether it makes for the best entertainment or not. I imagine it should be useful educationally, but I don't know. Anyway, let me know your thoughts. Should you have any thoughts pertinent to the matter? I was going to say, should you have any thoughts? I'm pretty sure you have thoughts. People have thoughts. But, you know, on the specific subject. Sometimes, you know, there's a thing and the thoughts are just, like for here, you know, okay, I turned a set if I were in the pot. I didn't see all the flop action, though, to see kind of how likely it is someone has ace-ace or 9-9. On the river, I would turn a flush that could not beat any other flush. And nobody, yeah, okay, so top two pair. What was the other person calling with? Like ace-4, maybe? No. Ace-6. Okay, so they turned two pair. Wow. That was the last 6 in the deck. Of course, they deal out most of the cards in PLO, so it's not really a surprise when the last of something comes out. It's like, yeah, somebody else didn't fold it, I guess, but not a lot of cards left in the deck. 6 max a little bit more than, say, 9 or 10-handed. All right, a lot of money went in, and I did not see how, but everybody's very excited, and I have to imagine all the chips may go in on this turn. Somebody had a hand worth calling on the flop. You know, if we had a set over set situation, then this 10 is quite the douse of cold water. If you have a set and somebody bets 41 here, and they turned their hand face up, and it was ace jack. Oh my goodness. What? What the heck? So nobody turned the straight. Oh no, they turned the nuts on the right. Yeah, okay, yeah, that makes sense. With the royal flush draw, and the other person who just had aces. All right, and this I'm not gonna raise. They just had aces, right? Aces with a 10 and a 7. I mean, you know, you have aces, you get it in, I guess, but wow. That's interesting. The other person on the flop had the big wrap. So on the flop, they had 36% equity, 96% equity, where they're going to win the pot, I think 92% of the time-ish, 90, 93, 94, and chop like 8%. I think that's how you get 96% equity. In that scenario, something like that. Yeah, because it's 3 outs. It's like 7.5% chop and 92.5% scoop, I believe. So this would be another one of those scenarios where I would have the nut flush blocker, but it's a paired board. Wouldn't have a ton of utility. However, if I had the nut flush blocker with like a 3, then that's a hand that is interesting, right? Because it's got a draw to a boat, but it's also blocking a lot of the good hands. Can't really get anything better to fold, though. Except like deuce-deuce, maybe. I don't know. But, you know, the nut blocker on a paired board isn't really the nut blocker. Actually, technically, the 3 would be the actual nut blocker, except that somebody could have a larger boat and another 3 themselves, thus knowing that they were not facing quads, and thus having the nuts. There's a lot of different types of nuts. There's like literal nuts, effective nuts, absolute nuts, relative nuts. And I think we can take these terms and make them a little more precisely defined, and that might be a service to the poker community. Maybe not quite as large a service as the invention of the idea of the LoJack, but, you know, I think it could be useful. Maybe more broadly useful. I should put that in my poker bio. Inventor of the LoJack. Anyway. 10, 6, 7, 3. That's garbage. That's not the best Badoogie, right? But it is a Badoogie. All right, we'll play one more and then review these 9 hands. That could take a while, but most of them are going to be fairly simple pre-flop questions that I'll get the matrix set up as well. I really do need to, I should just become an affiliate because I use this so much, and I should find out whether I can use it on the screen. I think it would be more helpful for viewers. I think it would be more pleasant, probably, to actually have it on the screen. I don't know why it's so big right there, though. It got really big. Okay. Very dry-looking board, though multiple straights come in on the river. Having been paired, though, nobody can really be jubilant about a straight, but they're pretty happy with it. They're happy with their straight. Not a lot of fear of a boat there because of the action, I suppose. And we'll fold. And we'll display last hand. Oh, no. I wanted to see what they got called by. They got called by King, Ace, 10, 9. So I believe that's top pair, top kicker, right? Yes. Top pair, top kicker. Nothing else. All right. Session review time. Ace, 9, 5, deuce. Would be a different hand than the one that I'm discussing. Ace, 9, 5, tray is in the LoJack, double suited. I think this might have been a little bit conservative. However, if it's at the very bottom of my range, I don't mind because I feel like, oh, no, this is just a clear fold. Okay, this is just a clear fold. Ace, 9, 5, 3, double suited. is clear fold from LoJack. Ace 9, 5, 4. Bad suit? The bad suit is suited to the 9? That's so weird. We'll say is raise. But nothing with a 3 or 2 is RFI from LoJack with ace 9 double suited. Okay. So simple, right? So this is a fold. It wasn't too tight. Cool. Moving on. Jack Tray 5-5. Again, this is another one that I think this is going to be pretty straightforward. I'll actually maximize this on that other screen. Yeah, that looks better. That looks better. I mean, you can't see it, but this is just super clear fold. Super clear fold. Nothing even close. So 5-5 Jack Tray double suited is clear fold from this position. Hijack. I'm looking up the LoJack though. Let's look up the correct hand, right? That's why we always double check when we're checking something like this and then see what it is. Yep, it's still a clear fold. Only 5-5 Jack X that we raise here is Ace Jack. Is 5-5 Ace Jack double suited. Okay. Also 5-5 XX with decent connectivity to 5 and or just Ace X suited. Does that make sense? I think that makes sense. Yeah. Okay. That's good enough. Basically, if we have pocket 5s and we're double suited, we either want like 5-5-4-3, 5-5-8-7, that kind of connectivity, or like 5-5 ace whatever. All right. And then somehow 5-5 king 6 also, but I'm not gonna super worry about that one. So I folded that. That's good. So far so good. And then I fold this. This doesn't even look close to me. This would be MP ace queen single suited. I don't even know why I marked this. 9-4. It's actually closer than I thought. It is close, but it's a fold. So ace queen 9-4 single suited or good suit is fold from hijack, but ace queen 9-5 good suit is RFI fold. Most ace queen 4x is fold from hijack. Okay, single suited. So that's from the hijack though. So let's see what we do from the button. I think this is a button RFI, right? That's what I was basically saying. Ace queen single suited. Ace queen 9-4, yes. Ace queen XX single suited is almost all RFI from button. And I think that's all I need to say. No, I'll say good suit almost always calls versus 3-bet versus PF3. Bad suit mostly folds versus 3-bet. Okay, PF3 pre-flop 3-bet. Could just say 3-bet. Cool. So this was a fold. All right, so we have 3 correct folds. Now we're looking at ace, king, jack, 8. This one I thought was interesting. I decided to flat here. I think clearly we're going to open raise this on the button. The question is button squeeze versus hijack, which it doesn't show. Oh no, that's big blind squeeze. Button squeeze versus under the gun. So we'll look at that, and then we'll say if it's close, then it's a call, right? So ace, king, single suited with a jack 10 is a call. So this is a little too loose against that player. So we'll mark that. We'll say ace, king, jack 8, single suited, good suit is fold versus LoJack RFI and cold call. Ace, king, jack 10, good suit is call in that spot. But that's not this spot. This spot's a little different. We want to look at versus MP. Ace, King, Jack 8 is probably, yeah, okay, so versus Ace, King, Jack 8, good suit is, or just single suited, good suit and bad suit is raise, fold versus hijack RFI. So what this says to me is, okay, if this player had raised and the other player had folded, we're supposed to 3-bet here. And if they had been a little earlier, and thus their range was a little tighter, and there had been a cold caller, we're supposed to fold. So where do we kind of take those two pieces of information and put them together? Well, it says to me that calling with a hand like this isn't maybe isn't great, as in we mostly want to be 3-betting these, but in the squeeze spot, it seems like we're mostly we're doing a lot of flatting, right? So if I look at like maybe Ace Queen single suited, there's a lot of flatting. Ace Queen Jack 10 and Ace Queen 10-8, there's those are flats, and Ace Queen 10-9. So I think this looks like a reasonable play where kind of all three options feel like they're on the table, and when that's what's going on, I think we need to look at the dynamics of the actual players involved, which is, okay, the opener, we don't know too much about them. They don't seem super loose, but they also don't seem super aggressive so far. But 12 hands, not a big sample. The next player, only 10 hands, but they've played 80% of them. So while that's technically literally a smaller sample, I think it's a more it's a sample that tells us more than the other sample does, right? So here we look at this and go like, okay, against that, we want to play pots against that person. So calling against that person makes some sense. And there's two players behind us, both of whom are loose. The one who's had a fair amount of 3-betting, if I saw this 15 3-bet and hadn't seen the hands that they 3-bet, I might have gone like, I don't know. But because I've seen them only have aces, and I've seen all three of those hands they 3-bet, and they were all ace-ace. First of all, I'm blocking ace-ace, so they're less likely to have those hands. And second of all, those hands are only going to happen a small percentage of the time anyway. So I'm not worried that like 15% of the time they're actually going to 3-bet here. I think it'll be much lower, like 1 or 2% probably. Maybe like 3, 4 maximum, right? And then the other player so far has been fairly loose and fairly passive. So I think this is a good spot to call hands that have a good chance of making the nuts. And I can make a jack high nut straight, I can make a king high nut straight, an ace high nut straight, I can make a lot of top 2 and large boats like the overfulls, right? Like if it comes ace ace with any of these cards, I'm in good shape, or king king as it turned out. I'm in good shape, and I can make the nut flush. Now I can't flush over flush, I can't nut over second nut someone, but I think this is a reasonable spot to call. Also, if I 3-bet here, I think I'm going to get a very large pot, and if I were double suited, I'd be much more inclined to be putting in 3-bets. Let's briefly look at Ace King double suited. What is this? Button versus under the gun. Yeah, there's a lot of 3-betting going on there. This particular combo would be a call double suited, but adjacent combos like 10-8, Jack 9 instead of the Jack 8, those would be 3-bets. So I like how I played the hand pre-flop. I think it makes sense. We've learned that it's kind of cuspy, right? And we can kind of go different ways with it based on who's in the pot. So they all check to me, and I just bet out half pot. I could bet even less, I guess, but this feels reasonable to me. I probably have the best hand if somebody else has a king with me. Let's go. Let's put some money in, and I can bet the turn, and then if I don't make a boat, maybe I'll check the river. Unclear. But yeah, so I win the hand, and not too much to say post-flop there. Okay, let's look at the next hand. Double-suited queens. This, I don't think there's much to say pre-flop. Post-flop, I bet like 60% pot. I get a call. Right, this turn card. So first of all, on the flop, if somebody has like ace, king, queen with hearts, I believe they're a favorite. We'll run that in a moment. With the 9 of hearts, like all of a sudden, just everything got there, right? Unless they had exactly like Jack 9, like Queen 10, Jack 9 or something, I'm still beating. But everything got there. They check it to me. Cool. Let's get a free chance at making a boat. Oh, that's not a boat. They check again. And I think they can check some small flushes here. Straights they can certainly check. This isn't necessarily a player that I'm going to be like, oh, let me bet them off a straight. I don't even have any heart blockers. I think betting here would be fairly terrible, like substantially terrible. So I check it back, and they turn out to have the second nuts, really the third nuts, because Jack 8 of hearts also beats them. But the second highest flush in terms of literal, high card, and they win the pot. But let's look at even flop equity here. So they've got they've got the backdoor and the flush draw. They don't have any straight draws at all, right? They have backdoor straight draw with the 3 and the 4. So I think on the flop, I'm going to have very good equity against this exact hand. What do we think? Like 70%? I think in the 70% range, maybe even a little better. No, 69%. So pretty close there with the estimation. So that means, like, out of every 3 times we play this hand, I'm going to lose it 1 time, give or take. A little bit better than that. But, I think that's an important thing to internalize. Just like to internalize how often we lose when we have the clearly best hand against a reasonable draw. Right? And here, if I give them the open-ender, now it's going to be a lot closer to 50-50. I think I'm still going to be better than 50%, but they're going to have, let's see, because the 8 doesn't really help them, right? Or the 8 in their hand. I think they're going to have like 45 to 48, somewhere in there. 45% equity. Okay, so I've run a few equity sims in my day. So if we now give them the ace of spades to go with this, now they're going to be a favorite. I think they're going to have close to 60%, maybe more like a 55, 45. Yeah, okay, so 54, 45, 46. So now they're a favorite. So I don't necessarily just want to like pile all the chips in on the flop. Sure, depending on how many non-huge wrap hands. Let's give them 1 more card. Now we're going to get them about 60%, I think, with the 9 of spades. Is that going to help? Is that going to give them additional outs? No, is that irrelevant? No, it gives them a little bit, but not much. Okay, so I think that's enough for the equity calcs here. The point being, if they have like a wrap plus a flush draw, they're a small favorite. If they have a straight draw plus a flush draw, I'm a small favorite. If they just have this flush draw, I'm a considerable favorite, but I still lose pretty often. The hands I really want them to have are like 10-10 or deuce-deuce, right? Then just, let's go. Like, they have very little equity. Absent some other draws, like a straight flush draw, right? King, Jack of hearts plus 2 10s, that's doing pretty good. That's probably pretty close to 50-50. All right, next hand. Aces. All right, this was the big losing hand of the session. Spoiler alert. From this spot, I've got aces. My opponent has raised, but they haven't done anything else, right? There's 2 limpers and they raised. So I'm still going to be doing very well against their entire range. If they want to get stacks in, I'm not going to be thrilled, but I'm going to have substantial equity. And once I make this, like basically 20, they could make it 60 something. We'd be very close to all in and just jam. And basically there'd be like 60 on top of this 40 whatever. So in that scenario, 60, 40, I would need about 3/8, about 38% equity to warrant getting it in after I raised. As it turns out, this player back raises and then they jam. So, like, can I actually get away from this here? I think probably not. First of all, because I don't know my opponents that well. I don't know someone else has aces. If no one else has aces, I'm doing pretty well. This is a scenario where we really need to do some like range versus range calculations, and that is not something that is going to be comfortably done in this equity calculator, right? It really doesn't like range versus range. For some reason it crashes a lot. I don't know. I'm sure they're working on it and it'll get better over time. Maybe I need to download a patch. Who knows? But I think, you know, I've got aces. I've already put the 3-bet in myself. And even though somebody else probably has aces, if we think about how much more money has to go in, well, 91, right? I have to put it all in. This person on my left has me covered. So if I'm putting in 91, what's the final pot size? The final pot is 58. Oh, that's all in there, right? So I'm putting in 91 in an effort to win basically 300, right? So I'm putting in about 30% of the pot at that point. Overall, I'm putting in more, but the money I put in already is irrelevant to my decision now, right? So 90 to win 300, I need 30% equity. And as we see, it runs out this way. Not fantastic. This player, I think, had very nice equity on the flop. And I think this will give us... I think the equity calculator will do well enough on the flop and the turn. I think pre-flop is where it's going to fail us. So I'm actually just going to bring up the Pro Poker Tools simulations thing. We'll put it here, okay? And I'm just going to start putting in the hands. We need to change it to Omaha. I have failed to do that more than once. We're going to put in the actual hands. More hands. 1. That's me. What? Come on. Copy. Paste. That didn't... Oh, I see what happened. I actually copied over the thing. Okay, so... what was the hand? They had... we'll just look it up. Should say winning hand. Alright, I'll bring this away. I'll bring it back. Ace of spades, ace of diamonds. I should have been able to figure that out. Queen of hearts, 9 of hearts. That's right. They had my ace queen covered as well, so we were chopping there as well. So pre-flop, I've got like, what, 20% as it turned out? Ooh, that's rough, right? So I needed, what did I say, 30%. Yikes, that's not great. This rundown here, like, good for them, right? 52%. What can we do though? Let's remove the rundown and just look at like what's our equity head to head. Small dog, right? Not a big dog. And against random aces, similarly small dog. So we're at the point where like we just get it in against that because we have enough in already that being a small dog, being slightly behind, isn't enough for us to fold because the pot odds, we're not getting 1-to-1, right? It's not at the beginning of the hand, oh, do you want to put all the chips in? Yeah, we've already put a bunch of chips in. So given the odds, we'd be happy to do that. If we, give this person their hands back, then we're going to see we're really not doing great. Now we're up to 24%. But if we go like king plus, then all of a sudden, I think our equity is going to jump up a substantial amount. Yeah, now we're at 33%, right? So if that person can have kings, which for all we know, maybe they can, probably only like good kings, but, a much, much better situation. If this person can have like 5% of hands, then all of a sudden our equity goes way up, right? 5%, let's say we give each player 5%, right? And these percents aren't fantastic. We really want to build out more sophisticated ranges. But as we can see, if both players are getting it in with like, 1 out of 20 of the hands that they're dealt, which would be like aces, and then like some good kings, maybe some double suited queens, some rundowns, we actually have an equity edge here, and we only needed 30%, and we're getting close to 40%. And in fact, 3 ways, we're the favorite. So we ran into hands that were very bad for us to run into, but I think overall it's a spot where just, before the flop, we just get it in, and we expect to lose more than half the time, right? We're just going to get stacked here a lot. The variance in this game is very high, and there might be particular lineups of players where we're going to be able to find a fold, but we're 100 blinds deep, right? We're 100. If we go to the beginning of the hand, we have, 110 blinds, right? So we're just not going to get away from ace-ace pre-flop with 110 blinds almost ever. We're pretty much just going to get it in, and in the long run, that's going to be fine. We're not thrilled about it in this exact situation, but I think probably this is just a spot where we get felted. If we had 250 blinds and they're raising, I don't know, I give it some more thought, right? It depends on the opponents. Maybe I find some folds there. I'm not sure. I'm not there, and our stacks aren't deep enough that I have to really worry about being there. All right, so we will proceed. Double suited fives with a 4 tray. This is against that LoJack range. So this actually is the scenario, button squeeze versus LoJack RFI. However, they're very loose, right? So we probably can play a little bit more hands. So if it's close and we're supposed to fold, then it's probably a hand we can play. Let's look. Single suited fives. No, this is not a hand that we play in this spot, right? 5-5 4-3 single suited fold versus LoJack RFI plus cold call. Only 5-5 double suited single suited we play is 5-5 ace 4 good suit and 5-5 4-4 5-5 3-3. That's it. Those are the only ones that we're gonna play when we have fives in this spot. Now, since they are so much looser, since they're raising so wide, let's just take a look at like what would we do against a cutoff in a spot like this. So against a cutoff range, single suited fives, is this now a hand we play? No, we still fold this against a cutoff range. And so if we're folding against the cutoff, I think we should fold it here. Fold versus cutoff RFI as well. Thus, I think this was too loose of a call. Now, we do want to recognize this is a very good situation for calling where I have 2 passive players behind me. I have a very aggro raiser and then another player who's flatted, right? Very often I'm going to get a 5-way flop here, 4 ways, 5 ways in position. So I think I can widen my range a little bit, but I'm looking at the chart and this is not anywhere near the chart, right? Do I even call this against a button? Like if I'm the big blind versus the button, right? Like, do I even defend this against this range? I'm going to think yes, but no, I don't even. 5-5 6-4, but 5-5 4-3 is a fold. So given that, I think this was probably maybe even too loose in this scenario. But if it were close, if it were closer, then I think this would be fine. So I think this was a mistake. And then we get, 3-bet. But this is a surprise move. Like, we're not expecting this person to 3-bet very often. I don't think that makes this less of a call. I think even if we knew what this person usually 3-bets, which as we found out so far, it looks like it's basically ace-ace, I think that doesn't make this not a call, right? This isn't a call because it wasn't close in the other situations. Even though it's a very good scenario, it's just like there's some spots where we look at the scenario like, oh, I can play more hands than I could in kind of the neutral version of this lineup. But then we need to be like, is this even close? And it's like, no, it's not even close. Okay, then even in this lineup, it's not something we're gonna play. Okay, we did that. We don't need to look at the post flop, right? I folded pre-flop. And then here, I am going to look at this. First of all, small blind open, correct? Let's double check that as if that assumption's off. Yeah, so 10-8 7-6 single suited is RFI from small blind. Good suit or bad suit is only 10-8 single suited to RFI, right? So if we have 10-8 suited as our top 2 cards, the only time we're gonna raise is if it's a 7 and a 6 to go with it. That's it. Unless it's a pair, in which case we don't call it a 10-8 suited, we call it that pair. Okay, so that's good to know. Let's look at this hand against a button raise, small blind versus button. It's not even going to be close. I think it's going to be just a very clear fold. Yes, it's a very clear fold. Let's look at some 10-9 suited, just kind of similar hand. 10-9 single suited, also a fold, right? 10-9 8-7 is still a fold there. And I want to look at this hand double suited. Yeah, so this hand double suited would be a 3-bet here. 10 8 7 6 double suited is 3-bet versus button RFI, but 10-9 8-7 single suited even is a fold versus button RFI. So really, we only want to be double suited here if we're going to be playing hands in this actual spot. So this is a very clear fold. I think not a lot of single suited hands in our 3-bet range. Like even if I look at Jack 10, yeah, Jack 10 9 8 single suited, that's a fold. And Queen Jack 10 9 suited the good suit. That's like the bottom of the 3-betting connectors single suited here. So I fold. That's very straightforward. Ace King. Yeah, this one I was wondering, like, do I defend this? I think it's going to be close-ish. I think Ace King those are nice cards to have. Maybe I'm going to 3-bet some of this. I think with like a queen, a jack, or a 10, maybe it's more of a 3-bet, and double suited, I think it's more of a 3-bet. What is my position? But big blind versus cutoff. So we'll take a look at that. We'll take a look at Ace King single suited, and this actually is a 3-bet because it's good suit, but I have the extra spade, so maybe that swings it. So we'll write here Ace King 8-5, and I'm gonna assemble these notes at some point into some sort of written product that I don't know, maybe I'll give like a free copy to all my first 50 followers or something, and then sell it as a book somewhere. I don't know. Ace King 8-5 single suited is good suit is 3-bet versus 3-bet fold versus in big blind versus cutoff RFI. So the extra spade maybe makes it a fold since 8-5 is bottom of range. We fold 9-6 and 8-4 and 7-4 in this spot. So yeah, let's then look at the other assertion. So this is one of those hands that let's say it was just a good single suit and I didn't have like the extra 8 or something. It was like Ace-5 suited. This is one of those hands where it's like not quite good enough to call maybe, and so we put it into our raise range and hope to get some folds. And if we don't, then we still have some playability post flop. We realize some equity, but we're not as worried about like getting the flop or not. Yeah, and we'll say this, Ace King 8-5 double suited is raise is 3-bet call. Good suit and 3-bet fold bad suit in this scenario. So that's interesting. You know, we're actually going to 3-bet and fold if we have the Ace King suited, and we're going to 3-bet and call if we're suited to the ace and separately suited to the king. So learned a thing there. Okay, I think that's going to about wrap it up for today. I'm going to have to get my thing back there. Okay. Thank you so much for watching again. If you are on Twitch and haven't followed, please give a follow. I'm getting very close to where I can be a Twitch affiliate and start making, you know, several dollars. And on YouTube, like and subscribe. It's very helpful. I'm going to start building the channel. No, really, I am. Anyway, I hope you have a great rest of your weekend. Cheers.